All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating intelligence dossier on the African crypto ecosystem. We're watching it transition right before our eyes, moving rapidly from informal, unregulated chaos to calculated, institutional permanence. Let's look at the data showing a continent rewriting its financial infrastructure in real time. Here's our roadmap for today. We're looking at the 72-hour crypto shift, Nigeria's permanent dollarization, the new rule makers, South Africa's institutional wave, and finally, some rapidly closing windows of opportunity. Let's get into it. Section 1, the 72-hour crypto shift, and the unprecedented regulatory crystallization we're seeing. Okay, just look at the sheer density of action here. Literally across 3 consecutive days, 3 completely distinct state actors independently dropped frameworks that are going to define the rules of African crypto for the next decade. On May 15th, Kenya gazetted its VASP regulations. The very next day, Morocco published its licensing criteria. And the day after that, the West African Economic and Monetary Union released a massive consultation paper. The rules are being written literally all at once. Moving to Section 2, Nigeria's permanent dollarization, and what we call the ratchet effect. So, to understand why these states are suddenly rushing to write the rules, we really need to look at Nigeria. The Central Bank of Nigeria recently cut benchmark rates, but you know what's interesting? They chose to remain completely silent on crypto in their latest macro communiqué. Now, a central bank doesn't just casually forget to mention a massive informal market. This silence is a brilliant revelation. It means they're structurally tolerating it. Here's what most analysts actually won't tell you. When you compare the macroeconomy to the digital economy, things get wild. Nigeria's headline inflation absolutely plummeted, dropping over 20% in 17 months. But the demand for informal digital dollars? It barely even blinked. The peer-to-peer crypto premium dropped by a mere 3%. So, what does this mean? It reveals a fascinating 7-to-1 compression ratio. Basically, for every 7 percentage points that inflation improves in the local economy, that crypto premium only compresses by 1 single point. People just aren't giving up their digital dollars, even when local inflation cools down. This is a perfect textbook example of what economists call the ratchet effect. Before the crisis, the baseline premium for digital dollars sat around 5 to 7%. But today, that structural floor has permanently shifted up to around 16%. Disinflation is literally being outrun by this ratchet effect. The big takeaway here? Informal digital dollarization is a permanent structural shift. It's not just some temporary panic. All right, on to Section 3, the new rule makers. Specifically, how WAMU and Kenya are taking control. With this unstoppable demand now a permanent reality, how are regional authorities stepping up? Well, looking at West Africa, the regional central bank, the BCEO, put out a cadre deregulation covering 140 million people. It's actually quite permissive, but here is the massive kicker. It completely omits any requirement for a state-issued digital currency. By leaving that out, they're quietly signaling a future built directly on regulated US dollar stablecoins. That's a huge concession to monetary reality. But there is a serious twist here. By pushing for strict compliance, like heavy know your customer rules, this framework might accidentally split the whole region in two. Think about it. We could end up with a licensed formal market serving maybe 30% of the population, while the other 70%, who structurally just can't meet traditional banking rules, are pushed into an underground, informal economy using unlicensed networks. If we map out the power dynamics across the continent, we actually see 3 completely different governance models at play. You've got Nigeria using strategic silence, essentially a contested state versus crypto. Then WEMU, with a very centralized framework where the state designs the rules top-down. And then there's Kenya, which has rolled out this incredibly sophisticated distributed model. The state governs the monetary layer, but the market itself operates the exchange layer. Honestly, it's a total masterclass in regulatory strategy. Which brings us to Section 4, South Africa's institutional wave and retail democratization infrastructure. Okay, shifting our focus down to South Africa, we're watching the arrival of some serious, heavy-hitting institutional capital. You can track the exact flow here. First, institutional validation, right? Pension funds openly allocating to digital assets. Second, a massive crypto ETF wrapper filing by the traditional finance giant Old Mutual. And third, once that ETF gets the green light, it'll flow directly into mass market retail, tapping into a network of over 6,000 financial advisors. The traditional incumbents have officially arrived. But here's the catch. The crucial bottleneck right now is the custody infrastructure gap. There's this super tight 90 to 180-day window before that ETF gets officially approved. And that creates a massive, urgent need for local institutional custody to be built before those TradFi floodgates swing open. We're already seeing local platforms like Valvler racing to launch institutional custody just so they can catch this incoming wave of capital. And that leads us into Section 5, Windows of Opportunity, the transition from permission to infrastructure. As all these new rules crystallize, some fast-closing windows of opportunity are springing open. Take Kenya, for instance. They just hit a record-high momentum score of 87 on the Intelligence Index. What's driving that? It's a massive clustering effect. 52 individual firms are using insider regulatory knowledge right now. By seeing these compliance requirements before the general public, they're locking in the very first virtual asset service provider licenses. That's a multi-year head start, literally overnight. Meanwhile, look at Ethiopia. They're experiencing a staggering 180% growth in stablecoin adoption. 180%. But here's the crazy part. They have absolutely zero institutional infrastructure built to actually handle it. For anybody willing to do the groundwork, this presents the cleanest, most asymmetric first-mover window on the whole continent. The demand is clearly there, the rails are just missing. So the overarching theme of this explainer is simply this. The game has fundamentally changed. Just look at these windows. You've got Kenya's 52-firm clustering effect, Morocco's 60 to 90-day window to secure banking access, Wayamu's 60 days to shape the BCEAO framework, and South Africa's 90 days to scale their custody capacity. The massive opportunity here is no longer about capitalizing on informal disorder. It's about being the very first to construct the new order. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. As this transition from chaos to code becomes totally permanent, and as these nations actively write the rules for their own digital monetary futures, which entities are going to be positioned to capture the immense value of this new infrastructure? Is it going to be the legacy banks, the nimble tech operators, or maybe the citizens themselves? Thanks for diving deep with me today on this explainer, and keep questioning how our future is being built.